Back in Generation 1, Tauros was the best Pokémon in competitive singles, aside from Mew and Mewtwo of course. Tauros was the Pokémon, and it was pretty much mandatory on any team that wanted to win. However, after Generation 1, Tauros has always struggled to keep up with the meta. Tauros went from a S tier Pokémon and 100% usage in Generation 1 to a D tier Pokémon in Generation 2 and completely dropped off after that, not even being mentioned in the viability rankings. Tauros went from the most iconic Pokémon that literally shaped the metagame to pretty much not being used at all after just one generation. Not to mention the generations after. So what caused the death of Tauros in competitive Pokémon? Tauros has numerous traits in Generation 1 that made it as good as it was. First of all, it was one of the fastest Pokémon in the tier with a base speed stat of 110, and it was strong too with a base attack stat of 100, serviceable bulk, and powerful stab moves with Body Slam and Hyper Beam. Being able to outspeed the majority of the tier meant that most Pokémon switching into it would need to tank a Body Slam and Hyper Beam after, and be wary of Body Slam potentially paralyzing. If you didn't know, in Gen 1, Hyper Beam did not need a turn to recharge if the user gained a KO with the move, and it was a physical move as well. Not to mention that Gen 1 had an interesting mechanic that involved speed, this being critical hit chance. In Generation 1, a Pokémon's crit chance is based on their speed stat. The higher the base speed stat, the higher the crit chance, and for Tauros this meant that it had a crit chance of 21%. And don't forget that in Gen 1, critical hits dealt double the damage. Even the few Pokémon that could take Body Slam, like Rhydon and Gengar, had to be wary of Blizzard and Earthquake respectively. Not to mention that it had the option to use Thunder for Cloyster and Slowbro, and even Fire Blast to burn switch-ins as the move had a 30% burn chance. Switching into Tauros was often so difficult that the opponent sometimes needed to sacrifice something to bring in a Pokémon that could deal with it. And ironically, in most cases, this would be an opposing Tauros, aka the Tauros War. Tauros was pretty much the perfect Pokémon in Generation 1, and one of the Pokémon that could use all of Gen 1's crazy mechanics. Then Generation 2 rolled around, and Tauros got nerfed heavily with all the new mechanic changes. Critical hits were no longer based on a Pokémon's speed stat, and Hyper Beam now always needed a turn to recharge even if it did gain a KO on an opposing Pokémon. Not to mention that its respectable base 70 special attack stat got split into two, and Tauros got left with a 40 base special attack stat, meaning it could no longer abuse the aforementioned Blizzard, Thunder and Fire Blast. It did receive one buff with the introduction of Return, but that did not nearly make up for it. It also did not appreciate the introduction of Leftovers alongside Rest Talk, giving switch-ins way more longevity. Newly introduced Pokémon like Raikou, Suicune and Skarmory, and the boss old Pokémon received like Snorlax, Cloyster and Executor were also not really nice additions for Tauros. While Tauros did receive some indirect buffs in Generation 3, like the not being able to max out all of a Pokémon's stats anymore, letting Tauros hit harder, the introduction of Choice Band giving it more firepower, and also the ability Intimidate, it was not enough to bring back the beast that was Gen 1 Tauros. After the third generation, Tauros only got worse and worse as more new and stronger Pokémon got introduced, and it has never seen the light of the overused tier ever again. Tauros did, however, receive some new forms in Generation 9, which are for sure an upgrade, but not impressive either. Overall, Tauros was the meta-defining threat in Generation 1, as it abused all of Generation 1's broken mechanics, but it also meant that as soon as these mechanics got nerfed, Tauros got heavily nerfed as well, and that's exactly what happened in Generation 2, and it has never been a great Pokémon since. Let me know in the comments what you think about the death of Tauros, and check out my video on the death of Darkrai. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.